I think I can confidently say most people have physical and mental clutter in one way, shape, or form, and we just need to figure out how to tackle it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Clutter To Me. This is the podcast where we go behind the scenes on getting organized, and today we're going to take a second to talk about mental clutter. Now, if you guys have been on my podcast or you guys have heard me even remotely talk, we talk a lot about mental clutter actually, because mental clutter has such a huge effect on our physical clutter. And if you've listened to my 4 Types of Clutter podcast, you know that mental clutter is one of the biggest clutter pieces that people have problems with, but don't always recognize that it's clutter, right? So let's take a second to talk about what is mental clutter. You guys have heard that I have mental clutter. You've heard that other organizers have a lot of mental clutter, but what is mental clutter? Mental clutter is the clutter that's up here. All the random thoughts, the tasks, the calendar events, all of that stuff that's roaming around in our head that causes us to go in like this weird loop. And that's what it feels like when I am having a bad mental clutter day, is I kind of feel like I'm on a loop and I don't know how to stop the loop. I keep going around and around thinking about all the things, and then I had to start over. And it takes up a lot of mental energy. For those of us who have or have had physically demanding jobs, your job is very, very physical. We know that you come home at the end of the day exhausted physically. For those of us who have or have had office jobs, or even some organizers, we can have a huge mental exhaustion because of all the mental stuff going on. It's not physically demanding to sit at your desk, but it is mentally draining. And all of this mental clutter is draining you. And we're going to talk about mental clutter and my best steps for tackling the mental clutter. So mental clutter. How do we tackle it? It is taking over our lives. And for me, I'm going to just talk to you guys about me, myself, and I. I have a lot of mental clutter between being a mom, being a wife, being a business owner, being a manager, and even in the business, I've got the HR, the finance, the operations. Like there's a lot of things that go on in my brain on a daily basis, and people wonder why I just pass out at the end of the day. I am mentally drained at the end of the day right now, and I'm not going to say I'm perfect. I'm not perfect. Again, I have physical clutter of my own. If you can't tell, I've recently redid my office yet again because of the physical clutter in my life, but mental clutter is always one that's super hard for me to tackle. It kind of envelops every aspect of my life, everything that I do, and it's always there. And so I've tried many, many things. And here are the 5, when I do these 5 steps, I guess I should say that. When I do these 5 steps, not only do I feel rejuvenized, I feel ready to tackle my mental clutter. I feel like I am being proactive instead of reactive, and I'm giving myself grace on the things that I can and can't control when I go through these 5 steps that I want to share with you. How often do I do these 5 steps? That is a wonderful question. Not enough. The answer is not enough. In a perfect world, I would do these 5 steps on a weekly basis. And the reason is because you need that mental reset. I historically have not given myself that reset that my body and my mind so desperately needs, because I like to go. I love being a business owner. Being a business owner and all the stressors that come with it does not deter me. It actually motivates me because I do really love being a business owner. But the mental clutter is exhausting. So please share this with somebody who you know who has mental clutter in their life as well, who needs something to deal with it, because let's be honest, everybody has clutter, both physical and mental. I think I can confidently say most people have physical and mental clutter in one way, shape, or form. And we just need to figure out how to tackle it. So, step number one, if you're ready to start tackling your mental clutter, step number one is to take a day of relaxation. Take a day off. I know, Amanda, you're telling me that for me to tackle all the crazy mental clutter, the first thing I need to do is take a day off. Yeah, I know I'm telling you to take a day off to tackle your mental clutter, right? During this day off, it's not going to be anything to tackle your mental clutter. I guess I should also let you know you're not doing anything to necessarily tackle that mental clutter. What I want you to do during this day off is I want you to relax, do something fun. During this day off, you're not tackling the mental clutter. What you are instead going to do is you need to relax your brain. You need to give yourself some grace, but you need to relax and you need to go do something fun that is engaging in a different way. If your job, your day-to-day job is physically demanding, do something that is going to play around with your brain. If your job is mentally demanding, do something that's going to kind of play around with your physical side of things. Go for a walk, go for a run, go for a bike, go kayak, go do something physically exerting. And if your job does both, if what's stressing you out does both, pick the one that has been the most recently. Organizers, sometimes our job is physically demanding, sometimes our job is mentally demanding. It's very rare that is doing both at the same exact time at the same degree. So pick one that is going a little bit more than the other, and then go do an activity to relax that's the opposite. Okay, this is going to help balance a couple things out. Now, after you schedule and do a day of relaxation, the very next day, I want you to schedule a work nothing day. I want you to schedule a day where you are not doing, there is nothing on your calendar. Let me say that again. After your day of relaxation, schedule a day, the next immediate day, to be a day of cleared out calendar. There is nothing on your calendar for what is causing you stress. You are not responsible for kids being dropped off or picked up. You are not being responsible for any meetings that day, any jobs that day, nothing. I want you to have a day of nothing. The reason is this is the day you're going to tackle all of that mental clutter. This is the day. You are giving yourself a very firm boundary of this is the day it's getting tackled. So you've had your relaxation day. Now you've scheduled your day of nothing. Tip number 3 is going to be to do a brain dump. It can look like a million things. You can have a worksheet. Some people like worksheets. Some people like lined paper. Some people like a whiteboard. Some people like a plain white piece of paper. Whatever is going to work better for you. I recommend something that is handwritten, not something that you're typing on the computer. At least for me, and I'm only talking from my personal experience, anytime that I have typed lists out on the computer, they don't stick. I don't know why, it just doesn't stick. So when I do a brain dump, I do a physical brain dump, where I'm just listing all the things that is in my brain, whether they're tasks to do now or tasks to do 3 months ago that I was supposed to do, or something that's 2 months away still. I am brain dumping everything that I need to do. And I don't really set myself a time limit for this. I usually just go until I feel done, and then I'll take a break. And I'll come, and usually when I take a break, I'll go do something else. Then I come back and do it one more time. Because there's bound to be things that I forget. You know how when you go to the grocery store without a list, you think you know everything that's on the list, and then you come home and you're like, yep, I really needed that parchment paper. So step 1, day of relaxing. Step 2 is your day of nothing, and during your day of nothing, you're going to do a brain dump. Then you're going to take a break and then come back and do another brain dump. to kind of tie up those loose ends. Step number 4 is you're going to look at your list and you are going to be very kind to yourself. Why do I say that? There are bound to be things on that list that you have seen 5 times whenever you've created some kind of list and you still have not done it. Be kind to yourself. This is the hardest one for me, is to be kind to myself. But be kind to yourself. You can only do so much in a day, and nobody knows truly what is going on in your life other than you. Nobody knows the 50 plates that you are trying to juggle in the air right now in your brain other than you. So be kind to yourself as you're reviewing this list, because the next thing that you're going to need to do is you're going to need to start creating a plan and nibbling away. That's step 5. Let's create a plan and nibble away. So every single one of these tasks, what I want you to do is I want you to put a priority level on it. Is it a high, medium, or low priority? For every single task, high, medium, low. That is going to tell your brain, okay, high priority things. I have procrastinated on this for months and I need to do it right now. Or I procrastinated on for months, but it's not something that I absolutely need to do. It's still a low priority thing. And that's showing you why you haven't done it and it's been on your list for months now. Give yourself a priority for every single one of those things. Some of them you might want to break down a little bit more. If you say, hey, I want to do a website welcome video. Well, there's more tasks and things involved with creating that video. So what are those tasks possibly? But don't get too bogged down in the subtasks. Just focus on these big tasks. Because then you're going to start looking at the list and seeing, what can I delegate? Our mental capacity to do things is very limited. So we want to try and delegate things to people that we trust, if possible. Some of us are solopreneurs, some of us have teams. I have my virtual assistant who helps me with a lot of my mental clutter stuff. I, for some reason, my brain could not last year fathom the idea of getting ahead and calling for doggy daycare when I knew I would be out of town. I don't know why. I just couldn't. And it was like always a very last minute thing that I was trying to figure out. But I gave it to her. I'm like, hey, I need you to look at my calendar, figure out what days I'm going to be like completely away from the house all day, like for family trips or whatnot. And I need you to call and set up doggy daycare for me in advance. I, for some reason, can't do it. And it worked out beautifully. It was amazing. And I didn't have that mental clutter anymore. People wonder why I don't know when things are happening all the time. It's because I live my life on my Google Calendar, so that I have my calendar events causing mental clutter for me. My calendar events that's how I live my life, is off of my Google Calendar. I really don't know what's happening day to day until I look at my calendar. And I love that. And I highly recommend that if you have a lot of calendar events. So as a recap, what we're going to do is we're going to schedule a day of relaxing. We are going to schedule a day of nothing. And during that day of nothing is when we're tackling that mental clutter. Okay? Go through a brainstorming process. Take a break and do it again. Because I'm sure you will add more things to your list that second time around. Be kind to yourself as you look at that list. Understand that it's okay. You can't control what's already happened. You can only control as you move forward. How are you going to react moving forward? Set priorities to every single item on that list. How important is that? If there is a firm deadline for certain things, like, I don't know, school enrollment, there's a deadline for that. It might be helpful to write those deadlines down next to them as well. That way you don't lose sight of the actual deadline if it's a medium priority right now. Delegate where it makes sense, things that you don't want to spend your energy on, things that you do have consistent help with, delegate those tasks out and start to nibble away. That day of nothing becomes to a mental clutter detox day. Okay, start to nibble away at that list. Now, you will probably find that you are going to be most energized if you complete one of those tasks that has been sitting around on your list forever. Make sure it's not something that's too big that you can actually get done in a reasonable amount of time. The other thing that could be helpful to add to this list as you are putting your priority levels is how long you think it'll take. How much time do you anticipate that you will need to spend on that task? This is incredibly helpful as well. I think this task will take 5 minutes, and it's a high priority task. That gets moved up to the top of my list. I love that it's only going to take 5 minutes. And that way, if I know, you're not going to get through your whole list today. But as you're using this and sprinkling it into the rest of your week, what you do is you look at it and say, oh, I've got 5 minutes before my next meeting. I can tackle that real quick. And you tackle it. That time frame is very, very helpful so that you can nibble away at your list, knowing that you've done the pre-planning work for that mental clutter. So, in order to tackle our mental clutter, here are the 5 steps. You're going to schedule a day of relaxing, where you're going to do something that is the opposite exertion of what you're used to. So whether it be physical or mental exertion, you're going to do the opposite. You're going to schedule a day of nothing. During the day of nothing, you are going to do a brainstorming session in the beginning, take a break, and do another brainstorming session. Then you're going to give yourself grace and you're going to be kind to yourself when you're looking at the list of things that you need to do. You're going to be kind to yourself and understand life happens, life gets in the way sometimes, but we just have to reset and keep going. Then you're going to start to create some order to your list. You're going to create priority levels for every single task. Note the ones that you can delegate into who. If there are very firm deadlines on things, you will note them now as well. Also, it's really, really helpful if you put the time requirement. The amount of time you think it'll take to complete that task, write it down next to it as well. If you need to then transcribe it to something else, that makes sense. That way, you now have a list you can start tackling today during your day of nothing, then turns into your mental clutter detox day. And now you have a list that you can use for ongoing throughout the week outside of the one day today. This is great for people who have busy lives and really can only take like 2 days to do nothing involved with their lives or businesses. That is the real key, is you really do need these 2 different days. You need a day to relax and the day to actually feel rejuvenized and energized to tackle that. During your relaxing day, don't do any chores. Don't just take care of yourself and be upfront and honest with your family about what you're doing. That way it doesn't come as a surprise to them and they can also plan for it as well. So those are my 5 tips on tackling your mental clutter. Let me know how it goes. I'm really excited to hear how everybody tackles their mental clutter and how it's going to go for them specifically. I don't have this happening again until later this week or early next week, but I do have to do this on a regular basis. A modified version. I do like a regular modified version, but I really should do this whole process because I do feel a lot better when I do the whole process start to finish, as I just stated it. What is currently cluttering my life? Allergies. I'm a little nasally. Allergies are cluttering my life and it's driving me bonkers. The allergies are ridiculous. I've been having to double up on my allergy medicine because I cannot survive right now with the current state of the allergies and everything. So allergies are really cluttering my life right now. They're zapping my energy, guys. As always, thank you for joining me. This is a shorter episode on purpose because we're doing 2 episodes a month now. So join me later this month where we talk about organizing your finances with Dr. Darla Bishop. Thank you, and bye, everybody.